Hey guys, welcome back to the Far Better Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Clark. This is Season 10, Episode number 6, episode total 201. Chase just got here. He'll be on the next episode. Matthew 24. We're discussing this theology of Matthew 24 and as it relates to premillennialism. Drew, this is a daunting task with 9 minutes, now 8 minutes and 35 seconds. We can do this, though. I'm going to define it, and we'll defeat it.
Right,
Number one, definition. Premillennialists commonly teach that Matthew 24 refers entirely to the end of time, Christ's second coming, and the events leading up to the millennium.
Right.
They interpret the chapter as listing characteristics of the last days, wars, rumors, false prophets, events that will occur just before Jesus returns, signs of his imminent coming, and even a rough timeline for his return. Many connect it to the rebirth of Israel in 1948, claiming that this generation, verse 34, refers to those alive after that date, thus placing the end of the world within that generation. This view fails to distinguish between the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70 and the actual second coming of Christ, which Jesus begins to discuss only later in the chapter. Let's define defeat the doctrine at this point.
Yeah.
The biblical view: 2 events, 1 chapter.
Right.
Context divides the text.
Yes.
Let's talk about the structure of Matthew 24 and 25. Matthew 24, 1 through 35, destruction of Jerusalem, AD 70.
Yep.
This generation shall not pass, verse 34. Matthew 24, 36 through 51, second coming and the end time.
Right.
Verse 36, of that day and hour knows no man. Matthew 25 is judgment parables.
Right.
Jesus clearly shifts topics in verse 36. Everything before that concerns the fall of Jerusalem. Everything after concerns his final return. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. You've got the disciples that are asking different questions, and so Jesus is going to answer those questions appropriately and specifically. When will these things be? Jesus answers, Matthew 24, 4 through 35. There are signs, things to notice, destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. Then they say, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Some have said that's 2 different questions. Some combine the 2, because the point is when Jesus comes back, that is the end of the age. That is the end of the world. But Jesus answers that question, and you've already mentioned it. Verse 35 is also an important verse. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my word will never pass away. And then he goes into the verse 36, but of that day and hour. That's such a contrast between those days, that time, these signs, but of that day and that hour, no man knows. So you've got signs and things to notice, destruction of Jerusalem, 4 through 35. You've got no signs, no set time. That's the second coming, 2 Thessalonians 1, 7 through 9. So when you look at this, the biggest misconception, as you mentioned earlier, is trying to apply the entirety of this chapter to the second coming. If you do that, you've missed it. What does that have to do if you're pregnant? If it's wintertime?
Right.
If it's Sabbath? Nehemiah tells us the doors are going to be closed on the Sabbath day. What's that going to matter on the day of judgment? No, it's not. So understanding the difference in destruction of Jerusalem, and Josephus tells us no Christians perished in the destruction. Why? Because they understood what Jesus said. They took him at his word. It was taught. They listened. You've got apocalyptic language throughout this, which is representative metaphorical language. It describes something catastrophic. And you have Old Testament pictures that are brought out. You know, everything about the signs, wars, rumors of wars. Has there ever been a time when that wasn't the case?
Right.
No. There's either a war or a rumor of a war about to start. Nation against nation. Famines, pestilences, earthquakes. 1 Kings 8:37, Jeremiah 14:12. Abomination of desolation, spoken by Daniel the prophet.
Yeah.
Verses 15 to 28. And Jesus says, don't be deceived. Go back and study this and understand it. The coming of the Son of Man, verses 29 to 31, sometimes gets misconstrued. That's figurative and representative. The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Have we ever heard that before? Yes. Isaiah 13:1, 9 and 10, the burden against Babylon. Behold, the day of the Lord comes. It uses the same language. The stars of heaven, their constellations, will not give their light. Sun will be darkened. Moon will not cause its light to shine. Isaiah 34, 4 and 5. All the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. The heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll. And so you see this is prophetic language. We have all of this in the book of Isaiah. You go back and read about what's going to happen to Egypt. The Lord rides swiftly on a cloud. Well, is that literal language? No, it's talking about the destruction that's coming. So when it says Son of Man coming with the clouds, it's not a literal coming of Jesus.
Right.
The fact is his words are going to be there. He told them what would happen. And when the Roman army comes in to destroy Jerusalem, it's as if Jesus is saying, I told you this was happening. So he's there in that sense, from a metaphorical standpoint.
Yeah, verses 16, 17, 19, and 20, none of that makes sense if it's the final coming of Christ. You don't flee from the end of the world.
Right.
That's not how that works. You don't care about the weather or travel conditions. These warnings are very practical and localized, meant for the Christians in Judea in AD 70. Mm-hmm. The signs that are talked about are not for the second coming, but to be precursors for the invasion that happens in AD 70.
Right.
And that Luke 21, 20 through 24, he plainly ties the signs of Jerusalem's destruction to what he's discussing, not his second coming.
Right.
Now, this second coming is a different subject completely. Mm-hmm. Of that day and hour knows no man. Distinct shift in language from these things to that day. No signs are given from this point forward. The emphasis changes from watching for signs, verses 1 through 35, mm-hmm. to being always ready, verse 36 and following.
Yeah.
Not to be, trying to be funny or anything, but we remember the song by Brad Paisley, I believe, Waiting on a Woman.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that is you just kind of get comfortable. She'll
mm-hmm.
be there when she's there, mm-hmm. but you better be ready because she may walk down the stairs at any moment ready to go.
Yeah.
What's worse than having our wives show up ready to go on date night and we're still in shorts and t-shirt? That doesn't look good. That didn't go very well for us, does it?
No.
Well, on the day of judgment, it will be much worse than that, mm-hmm. obviously, because it won't be the difference in not being ready for a date.
Yeah.
It'll be, I'm not ready for Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The second coming being a different subject is this, but let's summarize this real quick.
Okay.
Matthew 24 is all future at the time it was written. Mm-hmm. Verses 1 through 35 clearly fulfilled in AD 70.
Yep.
Then there were signs that point to Christ's return. Well, that's the thing. At the time Jesus said it, yes, it is future. Mm-hmm. Matthew 24, 1 through 35. But then it's fulfilled.
Right.
Just like it is future that December of 2025 is going to happen. Mm-hmm. But at the time that we look back on this area of life next year, if someone listens to this podcast next August, it's no longer future.
Right.
That's what's happening there.
Exactly, yeah.
Here's another premillennial claim. Signs point to Christ's return. Signs pointed to Jerusalem's destruction. Israel's rebirth is the key. No, this mm-hmm. generation refers to the first century.
Right.
Jesus is talking about the end. No, only after verse 36 does he address that. Fleeing and suffering are global. These are local warnings for Judea. Mm-hmm. And so the conclusion of all of this is it's one prophecy but two events. He prophesied both the destruction of Jerusalem and his future return still to come. Understanding where the transition occurs is critical. Premillennialists conflate the two, leading to confusion and sensationalism. Matthew 24 is not about headlines. It's history being fulfilled and hope being prepared.
That's right.
Drew, thank you for being with us. You got anything else you want to add?
Just want to add real quick, if anybody's studying this deeper, go study the parable of the fig tree. Look at the language. You know that summer is near. You can see the signs. All this is the key to unlocking the meaning of the chapter. That clear distinction in verse 36.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us. We're grateful to all of you that have been watching and listening. We're looking forward to being back next week when we're going to have Drew back again. Chase can wait. We're going to be covering the rapture and the tribulation, and then Chase Green will be with us for the first time on the rapture. Nope, the Antichrist. There it is. I said it twice. It's the same thing. I'm getting 14 messages. Everything is happening all at once. Thank you so much for being with us. And don't forget, as we're getting ready to gear up toward the end of this series, to remember to please God now, so our eternity is far better.